Good afternoon, class. So today is 28th of February, and we will have to cover the current affairs of today. The first news is related to Sunday's newspaper. You just have to find the news. Okay, India-Pak ceasefire had high-level note. This is said by expert, and I hope you remember India and Pakistan have agreed on the ceasefire at the border, which ultimately said that there will be no violations of any form of ceasefire at the border from either of the sides of LOC. And there is a 2003 border agreement between the two countries, which they have said will be upheld by the both countries. And most of the people were speculating that this was the level or the talk of level at the uh, DGMO level, that is at the Director General of Military Operations. But some people have also estimated that there is a more comprehensive effort to that. Maybe there were different back channels that were involved. Maybe the Prime Minister office was involved with the other office in the Pakistan, maybe the army officials, the head of the Journal of Pakistani Army, or maybe the Prime Minister office of the Pakistan. Now they have assured that there will be no further cross violations on the LOC. We have already talked about multiple times that the NC and the parties that are in Jammu and Kashmir have welcomed this move. It will ensure peace and tranquility in the region that is in the Kashmiri region, and would definitely help to bring the long-term devised peace as Pakistan have always hoped for. Furthermore, the Prime Minister have issued the statement that we have moved forward, and now the onus lies on the government of India to bring ties to the forefront or do something capacity building with respect to the trust deficit that is currently between the two countries. India have already maintained that the terrorism and the talks cannot go hand in hand. You cannot kill our people and then you can sit across the table and ask us to talk about the issues with respect to the LAC, with respect to the Kashmiri people. Although he have once again highlighted that the right to determination of the Kashmiri people is pending at the United Nations Security Council, and the people should be guaranteed the right of their self-determination in the resolutions that were moved under United Nations Security Council. On the another hand, when we talk about the India position have constantly been that Shimla Agreement has been enacted in 1972, I think, and in 1972, 1972, yeah, in 1972, both the countries have agreed with one another to basically solve all the mutual disputes among themselves. So that is what needed to be followed, and this is what India has suggested to them. So right now there is a type of a deadlock that is currently continuing between the two nations, in which the perceptions of the Kashmir situation is different according to the prevalent situation on the ground. The parties say a different thing and the other says a different thing. Okay, next one is the footfall in flurry, tracking the elusive snow leopard in HP. So we have already talked about this, I think, in the current affairs of Himachal Pradesh. Please understand two or three things you have to remember. In the snow leopards, approximately 73, this is the first ever survey of snow leopard in any Indian part of the country. Then we have endangered. This species is an endangered species, and in the case of local communities, there could be conservation efforts that have been continued in the conservation. The local communities were the strongest allies in the conservation at Lahul Spiti and Kinnaur. Three things you have to remember, which are the parties: the HP Wildlife Department with the Mysore Board of the Natural Conservation Fund. The area that was sampled approximately was 26,000 square kilometer. That generally constitutes about 50% of the area, or you can simply say 45% of the total area of the state of HP. And furthermore, when we talk about how did we do that, we talked about here the blue sheep and the ibex generally exist. Why we need to do that? Because that is the primary prey of the snow leopard. After that, the Kibba village across Spiti has been one of the major community at the forefront of the corporation in estimating the values and estimating the number of the snow leopard that exists there. Okay, so I hope this is clear. Further, moving on, provision to block content under IT rules not new. So this is a statement that is issued by the Secretary of Ministry. There will be, I think, multiple, you can say, articles that will be written on the independence of the social media and independence of the digital news platform. So we will be discussing everything in that, but two things you have to remember. Two provisions are issued. One are among the IT Digital Code of Ethics and Regulation Rules Amendment Rule 2020, and second one is the regulation with respect to the social media. Now the social media have a three-tier structure, and sorry, the news channels will be have three, sorry, the online digital news media will be have three-tier structure, and the OTT platform will have to have the grievance redressal and all other things. So when we talk about the social media that is used as a part of a digital news media, please understand the digital media is current. In that digital media, there are two parties. There are OTT platforms and then there are news channels and agencies. When we talk about news channel and agencies, they have three regulatory mechanisms. The first is self-regulation with respect to the news that they are putting online and how they are presenting the facts. The second one is the oversight committee of the people who are involved in those particular groupings. For example, there will be judge of the high court, sorry, judge of the Supreme Court who will be the chairman, judge of the high court who will be chairman, and then furthermore there will be oversight committee of the government. With respect to the social media, that is Facebook and WhatsApp, the government have given a argument that most of the time when we want to trace something that a particular person have posted something which is false information or may create any form of discord in the society or may indulge some people into violence, then they should know they have not seek the data, but they have asked for the from the intermediaries the originator of that particular message. Now there are certain other regulations. For example, they have to appoint a compliance officer. If the government have issued any notice to them, they will have to comply with them within 36 hours, not later than 36 hours, and all the action should be taken before the 36 hours. So these are some of the things that they have debated about, and how the news media will be accountable, whether the freedom is being infringed, is it undemocratic, it is unfair. These are some of the issues that will be debated later. Okay. The next one is the 19th Home Secretary level conducted in a virtual mode. So this Home Secretary were talking between Bangladesh and India for the mutual cooperation on the border. Now what are the problems that we have with Bangladesh on the border issue? We have problem with respect to trafficking, with respect to drugs, with respect to the fake Indian currency notes, and also the extreme extremism that is currently getting funding, man and material from across the border. And although the most important issue may not be so, but the migration that was coming from Bangladesh to Assam and the region that is situated in the northeast. So they have assessed about this particular border and they have talked about a coordinated border management plan in which everything between the border agencies who are situated over there, for example, BSF is the current border agency that is currently guarding the India-Bangladesh border. So they will be responsible for maintaining any type of incursions away and maintaining all type of, you can say, interferences of human man material from either side. Okay? The smuggling is also in man and animals. Animals are sometimes also smuggled across the border from India, basically for the slaughter purposes. Okay? The next one is the US and Delegate Balancing Act as Saudi Prince Payer sanctions. So I hope you remember Mr. Trump was there. There was a person called as Jamal Khashoggi. He was killed in the Turkey embassy, and there was speculations that his murder has been ordered by Mohammed bin Salman. Now, as the report was prepared by CIA, that is the Chief Intelligence Association or something, CIA, I think you have all heard, in association with the United States of America, they have prepared a report in which they have found direct evidence with respect to the direct order that was coming from the highest of authorities, so much so that some traces were also going to Mohammed bin Salman. Now, Mohammed bin Salman was or is going to be de facto ruler of Saudi Arabia. So certainly sooner or later he will be helming on the throne all the most of the things he have been controlling right now. Now, in that particular background, USA could not risk in alienating one of its most important ally in Central Asia. One ally is Israel, another one is Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia has certainly normalized the relation of Israel with all the countries that were situated over there. So that's why they have not taken, or you can say they have calculated the effects, the bad effects of the policy that they are going to pursue. The people or the human rights violation that were committed against a particular foreign journalist who was killed by the order of the Saudi prince. The people or the activists all around the world were hoping that there will be some sanctions that America will be imposing on them. However, the Saudi prince not even was spared the sanction, but he was assured by the highest of authorities of the United States of America that we will be cooperating with you and this will not be a downturn with respect to the relation among the two countries. So I hope this is clear. The next one is the Myanmar police intensify crackdown. So I hope you understand all the Myanmar issue. The democratic government that was elected over there has been cooped by the military regime, and they have said that the emergency will be posed within a particular year. The reason that they have given is that there were mismatches in the elections and some people who were not eligible to vote, they have voted. The other reason or the de facto reason is understood as by all the people was that the military was losing its hold on the people. Secondly, the unionist government that they were actually supporting in the parliament has basically not functioned or not performed very good in the elections. The Aung Suu Kyi government have basically gotten full majority. That is the National League for Democracy, and they will be forming and pushing all the reforms agenda politically, militarily, and with respect to the social outlook. So that was a problem for army because army have long considered itself to be the godfather of that particular state. So that's why now the Myanmar police have intensified crackdown on the people. The UN have urged strongest of the actions to end the military rules, but I don't think the Myanmar army is going to budge under any of the pressure. Earlier there were the UN pressure for approximately 15 years, but none of the countries have budged. What is the stand of India? India has said that we are in the favor of the democratic elected government and the freedom of the people to safe, secure, and thriving democracy. And this is what we believe. This is what we believe in. So the democratic elected government should be restored. We are the supporter of rule of law, and according to the rule of law, the military should not take over the civilian affairs of the country. So I hope this is clear. Further moving on, India witnessing the beginning of the second wave. Now there are another fears that are coming right now. The cases have surged in the state of Maharashtra, in the state of Chhattisgarh, and there are sharp criteria that we are currently still talking about. If we talk about the ICMR third Sero survey, then the prevalence in India was just found to be 21.5%. So that generally means that out of the 130 crore people, only 26 crore people has been affected directly or indirectly. Larger pockets of the India as a territory has not been affected, which have created a problem for the scientists now to basically get vaccines to all the individual. And as the vaccines that are currently affected against the current strain will or rather they will be affected against the will be effective against the another strains that are going to be coming in the upcoming months from various reasons. So these are some of the things that we are currently debating. The next one is the IISCR Kolkata scientists stimulate mass on computers, suggest how it lost its atmosphere. Now I hope you remember the geography first lecture of the NCRT. We talked about that the removal of the atmosphere on the terrestrial planet was basically because of two reasons. The first reason is that the size of these particular planets was very less, due to which they did not have enough gravity. And secondly, the solar winds were very high in those particular regions that actually removed the primordial atmosphere. Now, as the rovers, as we have talked about the Perseverance rover, this Perseverance rover was basically working on Mars and it have found traces of water on the Mars. So we were hoping or we were looking that whether in some time scale there existed some atmosphere on the Mars or not. Now, the IISCR have provided a type of a simulation in which they have analyzed the things that are currently happening on the Mars, and they have reverse engineered it. And according to them, how the atmosphere on the Mars could have been removed. So the two conclusions that they have driven, or the timing they were trying to find the exact details, that at which time the surface could have removed, at which time the how much surface of the Mars could have removed. Okay, so it seems that it is given in NCERT why they are doing it. They are talking about specific. We are talking about a type of a general thing. So they have discussed that the sun flares or the sun winds were the reason for the removal of the atmosphere. There may have been a thick atmosphere under which there were water vapors, and these water vapors basically provided water to the Mars. If there was water on the Mars, there existed carbon compounds, and the carbon compounds would have directly or indirectly led to some form of life on the Mars. Now, the possibility that whether the life on Mars could be supported in the near future or in the later future for the generations to come, can we inhabit two planets at once? So these are still the issues that will be debated, and there will be a lot of things that will be coming in the upcoming years. So I hope this is clear. The next one is the new light on the rise of mammals. The ancestors of the all primates likely lived alongside dinosaurs. Now, whatever the primates are all those animals who are basically belonging to the you can say. I hope you understand what are primates, chimpanzees, and all other people. Now, there are certain specific things about them in the future of biology, so I will not be going into that. Now, please understand, a new observation have found that there existed primates, and these primates have basically existed alongside the dinosaurs when they vanished 66 million years ago. Now, the oldest record of the primates has been found in a fossil that have actually led us and provide us this particular observation that they may have existed in one way or another. The next one is the nanosheets help in the detection of the uric acid in urine and alcohol in breath. Now, this is the new nanotype mass spectrometry structure that is currently used. Now, what will happen under this particular part? That there will be a lot of ionization and breakdown compound in the simple ions, molybdenum, and there are 2D materials who will be existing over there. Now, these molybdenum and the materials that are existing over there, they will have 2D materials and the primates that exist and will basically provide the observation or the concentration, so much so even 3% if it is existing, they will be able to detect it. So this is the new technology. Now you do not have to go into the what type of devices that in which the breath analyzer. So in breath analyzer, you do not have to blow very hard. There will be certain strips that will be able to detect the concentration of the alcohol in your breath as small as 3%. So more safety of the people, more safety of the individuals. The next one is the ancient trouble. So this is not important. The next one is the new rules for social media and OTT platform. Now this is important, please understand. The oversight committee, as suggested by the IT Minister Ravi Shankar Prasad, have said that this is only a soft touch regulation that we are currently focusing upon, but it have more ramification with respect to the various freedoms, freedom of expression, freedom of press, and other issues that are related directly or indirectly with it. First of all, let us understand what are the new social media rules and what are the new OTT platform rules. Now, first of all, let's talk about the three-tier structure in the OTT. Now, over the air platforms are those platforms who are engaged in different type of news activities and all other you can say activities that is related to digital news, digital media, or any form of digital video sharing or information or expression that you are currently giving. Please understand, over the air platform include all the YouTube channels that are currently existing, whether it is the Caravan, whether it is the Wire, or any other organization. Now, these will be the organization who will be making the most of the noises, because the other organization, I think from the right wing, you do not see much of the organization who have a bigger reach to a larger audience, these organizations have bigger reach to larger audience. Now, when we talk about what are the provisions with respect to the OTT, they are provided with three-tier provisions. The government argument is that most of the time there are certain fake news that are being actually asked by them, and government do not have any provision to basically ask them to take that particular news if it is false from that particular premises. Neither there is a mechanism that is provided by OTT platforms to basically have a grievance redressal system. If a particular person have a certain grievance, there is no particular mechanism under which a particular person can approach the OTT platform and can lodge a complaint. For example, let's say I am watching a particular program on Netflix and I have a problem with that. If I want to launch a particular complaint, the OTT platform was not regulated in any kind of way that my grievance would be redressed. Now the government is saying that we have provided alternative way and we have organized a three-tier structure. The first one is the own regulation. You can do your regulation on. Own regulation generally includes giving an advisory to the people, that is whether this is under advisory of adult 16 plus, under advisory of adult 12 plus. So all things accordingly, depending on the situation where you are watching, whether they should be made restricted. Certain guidelines has also been issued to the over the air platforms like Netflix and Amazon, that if any person can disguise his age, whether he should be allowed to do it or not, whether only the parents should be allowed to basically have that particular discretion, that the data that they are currently consuming is not safe for the people, or you can say, or any other children that is the below the age of 16 years. So they have asked them to devise a method in which it could be definitely ensured that whether the data would be there. Now the other form of discussion that is currently doing the round is whether we can give an option of linkages. The government have said we do not want to track everything, but you can give option to the people if they can verify through Aadhaar card if you are not sure about the particular age of a particular person, or whether the government linkages would be there. Of course, the government cannot make it mandatory because then the foreign agencies or the foreign platforms will have all the information that we have with us. But of course, the government can be used as an intermediate to basically confirm the age of that particular person. But every time I think it will become very cumbersome that you will pick out your Aadhaar card and you put in the number of the Aadhaar card that will actually basically give you access to any kind of media. That is direct interference, as some people would say, in the content that they want to watch. And some people will further say that the government have no business in whatever I am doing in the bedroom. Now these are some of the issues that will be coming up. Then the second one is the regulatory body. The regulatory body of the OTT platform is already existing, whose head is the chairman is the head of the Supreme Court, and there are certain other judges who are included in them. Now these certain judges are basically having an oversight committee that are talking about the various issues related to the security, morality, ethics, integrity, and the unity of the nation with respect to the sexually explicit material that should not be openly cited, openly infringed upon, or openly talked about. And there will be various other material that is related to one way or another with respect to the child sexual abuse or child or gang rape and all other things that should not be put online. So they are being regulated by that. Further, moving on, the digital and news streaming devices, this is one step further that the government have gone. Now the government have said that there will be two committees. They were already existing. So that means the OTT platform and the other platforms, they were already self-regulating everything. And there was a committee that was already existing of the High Court judges who was talking as an oversight committee, or who was taking over as an oversight committee on the all over functioning of this particular OTT platforms. But now what we are seeing is the government have putting itself as an oversight committee in which if both the grievances or the parties are not able to resolve any particular dispute, the government can come in, it can ask the OTT platform to take down any of the information or stop the streaming of any of the information that it have posted online. Now this is what the freedom of expression or the OTT platforms are objecting to. They are saying the government can come in any time and they can tell the OTT platforms that this content needed to be removed if it is not favorable to the ruling government. This content needed to be done away with if it is not favorable to any of the agencies that you want to do, as happened with the censor board. Censor board generally do not allow or create certain problems directly or indirectly to certain people who want to basically provide their movies in the open criticizing the government. We have seen this in the case of Congress, and we have also seen this in the case of BJP. Both parties do it. Now, when we talk about social media, there need to be a grievance officer that is set by the government of India. Now they have said to appoint a chief compliance officer. Now they will establish link and communication 24/7 coordination with that particular compliance officer. And they have not asked for the data, but what is concerning is that they have asked for the originator of the message. Now, the social media platforms or the online media, for example, WhatsApp, Telegram, and all other that are currently in use, they are basically end-to-end encryption provided. What does we mean by end-to-end encryption provided? That whenever a message is sent from a particular individual, it is only delivered to the another individual. We do not know, because there are certain doubts regarding this. The companies are saying that we cannot provide you the data of an individual who is working on our platform because his privacy will be compromised. But the government is saying we are not asking you for the data, we are asking you for the original originator. If only there is a case that is talking about internal security, public order, sexually explicit material, child sexual material, or any material that is related directly or indirectly that is offensive, held under crime, or is going to damage the total fabric of the society, we will only be asking the originator of the message. We will not be asking who have forwarded the message. But the trust between the user and the private company needed to be sacrosanct, because if you are using something, you are hopefully asking that my privacy will be completely protected. Now, why the government is roping into that? They are not going to ask data, and it is also impossible for the digital companies also. For example, when we talk about WhatsApp end-to-end encryption, earlier it was not there, and Telegram. Right now, Telegram is one of the most secure means of communication, in which one person, when it talks with another person, it is end-to-end encrypted. That means the person who have sent the message to another person, only that two person can know about what type of data is being sent, what type of data is being communicated, and no other person can actually access it from anywhere. Even the highest of the hackers will not be able to do it. So how, if you do not know what is the data that is coming between two person, you will definitely not know where the originator of the message was. Now, it could be true in the case of Twitter, because in Twitter you can know, in Facebook you can know, because it is available for the public to basically contemplate on. But it is difficult for WhatsApp and Telegram to locate from where the data have originated. So that's why this is one problem. Now, the critics have said that it is the restriction on the speech. The government want to curb directly or indirectly all the mouths that are opening against or criticizing the policies of the government, with which how it is handling the polity, the security, and the freedom of the country. And it is basically coming up with the iron hand on all the people who want to criticize in any way the government of India, or it is giving a message directly to the intermediaries that you fall in line, otherwise on the verge of the nationalism we will be able to basically cordon off every business or every country or every big giant in the country, and they will have to go in the way of the government, or either they will be pushed out of the country. So this is what the government intends to do. So I hope this is clear. Please understand there will be other articles that will be coming in upcoming days. So we will talk about them also, because this is a very serious concern. It deals with every individual of the country, and of course there will be articles in Hindu that we'll be discussing later. The next one is the imperfect fight against proliferation. Now this is a issue with respect to the IAEA, that is International Atomic Energy Agency. First of all, the IAEA was established after the Non-Proliferation Treaty in 1970, and there were two objectives that were given to it. Please understand, Non-Proliferation Treaty was basically coming in the backdrop of India being conducting two nuclear tests, or there was speculation in the world community that India is working on having the nuclear weapons sooner or later. So it happened in 1968 and 1970, in which NPT came into force against the actions that India have done. So in 1970, NPT was formed, and simultaneously there was another agency that was associated or given the task to maintain the safe, secure, and responsible use of the nuclear fuel around the world, and also will report to United Nations General Assembly and United Nations Security Council. Now, the imperfect fight IAE is called because when after the 2000 attack, when George Washington or W. Bush, George W. Bush, yeah. So in the Iraq war, when IAEA was consulted that whether there is existence of any form of nuclear weapon in this particular country, IAEA have kept mum, and two of the major heads of the IAEA have not said anything. And although they were not substantive powers that were available with the IAEA, they have kept mum and they have not said anything. And USA till date is not able to find any traces of any nuclear weapon that is currently present with the Iraq or the country of Iraq. Although they have destroyed and launched attacks on Iraq and destroyed the whole country, but there were no confirmed traces of any form of nuclear weapons that Iraq may or may not have possessed. With respect to the 1980s, the IAEA was asked to basically kept quiet because at that particular time, the Pakistan was developing with the nuclear weapons. Americans were supplying nuclear fuel to Pakistan, so they will be developing their own nuclear weapons. This was reported in India also. So USA was helping Pakistan in basically building the nuclear weapon, and IAEA was asked to basically not take any actions. Now, although it was not able to also take any actions, because whenever we talk about IAEA, that is International Atomic Energy Agency, it is not able to do anything substantial because this is only a tiger without the tooth. It cannot bite, it cannot do anything because there is no legal mandate by any of the organization to basically restrict any type of the country. Now, for the first time, we have seen the earlier objective of IAEA was monitoring and inspection. For the first time in the implementation of the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, we have seen IAEA going a step further in negotiating a deal between Iran and USA with respect to the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, in which the nuclear fuel will be supplied to the country of Iran. Now, this is a temporary peace deal that is brokered by IAEA, in which certain people will be basically allowed to go to the state of Iran to basically take a stock on how much nuclear fuel enrichment that they have done, whether it is threatening to the neighboring countries. And Iran have made it of stand that they will always abide by the rule, that is the earlier Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, if they want to negotiate on that. Otherwise, they will not. So IAEA has maintained its credibility over certain years, and they have completely monitored all the agencies and the nuclear facilities that Iran was using for the nuclear fuel for providing power to the people that were existing in Iran. But now there were certain drawbacks that we are currently seeing. There is no complete set of norms, no binding regulations, no binding decisions of IAEA that are needed to be followed, and it is also not complemented by any of the things that are happening in the United Nations Security Council or United Nations General Assembly. Either the resolutions or the reports that are presented by IAEA should be put a vote by the United Nations General Assembly that may issue binding or non-binding directions to any of the states or any of the countries around the world, so that the peace could be ensured. Or in totality, more teeth are needed to be provided to this particular organization so that it can function in a peaceful, safe and secure use of atomic energy. Further moving on, TRIPS waiver for vaccine is key to growth. Now, India have maintained it on the international platform that most of the countries are basically practicing vaccine nationalism that is not beneficial for the world as a whole. When we talk about vaccine nationalism, we are talking about in which some countries are basically taking the stocks more than what is needed for their own country in their desired time at a higher price. They are not thinking about other countries, the poor countries of the world. India have said that this should be away from the TRIPS agreement. Now, what is a TRIPS agreement? TRIPS is trade-related aspects of intellectual property rights. Now, when we talk about intellectual property rights, the research, patents, publications, whatever they are coming under the TRIPS mandate. India has not been a ardent follower of the regulatory regime or the property regime, and often been accused that it have flouted various norms, and we have said that it is for the public good. So therefore, the TRIPS waiver can be provided. Now, the government of India has made at the international platform that for 30 to 40 billion in vaccine, as the companies are looking out for, they are blocking approximately 6.7 trillion economy. And Indian ambassador have said that the proposal that they have made that TRIPS waiver should be provided for the vaccine so that all the countries will be able to get the vaccine in the public platform and there will be no issues with respect to the licensing, production and distribution of the vaccines. Now, 57 WTO members have backed it, probably the poor countries, but the European Union, Canada and Japan have opposed it. They have said that if we do not provide the value to the innovation, then the innovation may not exist at all. So India have asked them to make a one-time exception, but I don't think the European Union, Canada or Japan will either make it because they are driven by the profit and they hardly worry, although they talk about big things, that they worry about the people in the rural areas. But I think European Union mostly will not be worried about the issues that are currently happening in the African region or currently happening in the South American region. So I hope this is clear. Okay, so I think that is it for today.